What if I told you that your mind is sabotaging you right now without you even realizing it? Deepak Chopra has revealed a shocking secret. The way you talk to yourself could be destroying your chances of success and happiness. But what if there was a method to reconfigure your brain and transform your reality in just 3 days? What you're about to discover could change everything, and once you know it, there's no going back. Let's get started. Chapter 1: The Hidden Voice That Shapes Your Reality. Deepak Chopra says that every thought you have shapes your reality in ways you can't even imagine. What you say to yourself every day isn't just an internal monologue, it's a vibrational code that reprograms your brain, alters your energy, and defines everything that happens in your life. But what if that inner voice is sabotaging you without you realizing it? The science of neuroplasticity reveals that your thoughts are like trails in a forest. The more you walk a path, the stronger it becomes. If every day you wake up telling yourself, "I'm not enough, I'm not capable," or "this is impossible for me," you are literally building neural connections that reinforce this reality. Your brain, without distinguishing between truth and illusion, simply accepts these words as commands and adjusts its energy to reflect this in the external world. Chopra explains that most people live in a state of autopilot without realizing that they are reinforcing day after day the same mental programming that keeps them stuck in the same life cycle. They wake up with the same thoughts, which trigger the same emotions, which generate the same behaviors, which create the same experiences. And then, unsurprisingly, they end up getting the same results. But what if it were possible to break this cycle and reconfigure your mind to attract exactly the life you want? In the next few moments, you'll discover how the way you communicate with yourself can become the key to a radical transformation. And there's a method for that, a 3-day challenge developed by Chopra that can reprogram your brain and realign your energy for success. But this will be no ordinary challenge. These 3 days will require absolute awareness of every word you say to yourself. And if you really understand this and apply it, there will be no going back to your old self. Chapter 2: The Challenge That Can Reconfigure Your Mind in 72 Hours. Deepak Chopra teaches that every great change in human history began with someone saying yes to themselves while the world said no. Every revolutionary invention, every great achievement, began with an inner thought of overcoming and challenging limitations. Now imagine the impact of 3 days of absolute transformation, where you take control of your internal conversation and turn every word into a reprogramming code for your mind and your reality. This 72-hour challenge is simple in theory, but profound in its application. During these 3 days, you won't allow your mind to dictate your reality based on the past. Instead, you will reconfigure your thoughts to create a new future. On the first day, you will become hyper-aware of everything you say to yourself. Every negative thought, every self-destructive pattern will be intentionally interrupted and replaced. On the second day, you will begin to recondition your mind, introducing powerful affirmations that rewrite your neural circuits. You'll start talking to yourself as the person who has already achieved what you want, because the brain doesn't distinguish between reality and vivid imagination. And on the third day, you will become the new version of yourself. You'll notice that your energy, your posture, and the way you act begin to reflect this new state of mind. And at that point, the transformation will no longer be just an idea, it will be a real experience. But here's the most important detail: if you keep thinking and talking to yourself in the same way you always have, your future will be an exact repeat of your past. Chopra explains that each day, the human brain processes between 6,000 and 7,000 thoughts, but the most impressive thing is that 90% of them are exactly the same as the day before. This means that unless you consciously interrupt this cycle, you are literally recreating the same life over and over again. And here's the key point. Your brain and body don't know the difference between a real experience and an intensely lived thought. If you tell yourself, "I'm a failure," your brain triggers signals to your body to release stress hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline. Your vibrational frequency enters a state of fear and scarcity, which affects your behavior, your choices, and consequently, your opportunities. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up tomorrow and saying to yourself, "I am worthy of abundance. I am strong and capable. I create my reality with confidence." Your brain would adjust to this new pattern, releasing dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, the so-called neurotransmitters of happiness and personal power. Your body would begin to respond differently to the world, and the world in turn would begin to respond differently to you. This is not a philosophical concept, it's neuroscience applied to personal transformation. And now you have a challenge. You can continue to reinforce your limitations, or you can decide right now to change the way you communicate with yourself and reprogram your reality. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn how to talk to yourself in a way that will literally change your brain, chemistry, reconfigure your neural circuits, and create an energy field that will attract new possibilities into your life. And the question remains, are you ready for this? Because once you understand this and apply it, there will be no going back to your old identity. Leave your opinion in the comments. Chapter 3. The Science of Internal Dialogue: How Your Words Reshape Your Brain. Deepak Chopra says that every word you say to yourself is not just a passing thought, but a direct command to your brain and body. What you repeat in your mind not only influences your emotions, but literally alters your biology, your energy, and the way the world responds to you. Now imagine that every day you're repeating to yourself that you're not good enough, that you're not lucky, that things never work out for you. Your brain, without distinguishing between what is real and what is imagined, triggers chemical signals that make your body believe it completely. If you say, "My life is difficult," your brain releases stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, which increase anxiety, decrease mental clarity, and drain your vital energy. If you repeat, "I'll never make it," your body responds by reducing your motivation, activating emotions of fear and insecurity, and reinforcing patterns that keep you stagnant. Chopra explains that your limiting beliefs are not absolute truths, but neural patterns created by repetition. If you've ever told yourself, "I'm no good at finance," "I'm destined to live like this," or "relationships never work out for me," understand that this is nothing more than a neural pathway strengthened by years of repetition. And here's the crucial point. The more you repeat a thought, the stronger it becomes. Each word creates a neural connection in the brain, like a path in the forest that becomes clearer each time it is walked. Now imagine that for 3 days, you completely replace this mental trail. Instead of thinking, "I'm never lucky," you tell yourself, "Opportunities come to me naturally." Instead of, "I am an anxious person," you say, "I am balanced and confident." Chopra explains that this change in language is not just a psychological issue, but a physical process that alters the brain's neural networks. When a new thought is repeated with emotional intensity, new neural circuits begin to form, replacing the old, limiting patterns. This is the power of conscious internal dialogue, and what you're going to learn now is how to completely rewrite the way your brain operates, breaking the old patterns and creating a new state of being. Chapter 4: The Autopilot Trap. How your brain reinforces the same reality. Every day, Chopra claims that most people wake up every day already programmed to relive the past. As soon as they open their eyes, their first thoughts are the same as yesterday, which were the same as the day before, and so on. The human brain processes between 6,000 and 7,000 thoughts a day, but here's what few people know. 90% of these thoughts are exactly the same as yesterday. This means that without realizing it, most people are recreating the same mental and emotional state which perpetuates the same life experiences. If you wake up and your first thought is, "Today is going to be difficult," your brain responds by activating neural networks associated with stress. Your body follows suit, releasing hormones that reduce your energy and increase your feeling of tiredness before the day even begins. But if instead you start the day by saying, "Today is a new beginning, and I am capable of creating an incredible day," your brain activates circuits of optimism, confidence, and creativity, altering your entire body chemistry and opening the way to new opportunities. Chopra explains that the problem is that most people wait for something to change in the outside world before changing their internal dialogue. They want to feel safe before they start talking to themselves with confidence. They want to see results before they believe they can do it. But the outside world doesn't change first. Your inner dialogue is what determines how you perceive and attract life's experiences. And now comes the most powerful moment. The brain cannot distinguish between an intensely lived thought and a real experience. This means that if you start saying with total conviction that "I am worthy of success, my life is changing, I am becoming a new person," your body will start reacting to this information as if it were true. This explains why people who practice mental rehearsals, like elite athletes who visualize their competitions before they compete, develop brain circuits that are just as strong as those who have actually gone through the physical experience. The same principle applies to your life. If you start talking to yourself as someone who has overcome their limitations, your brain will start to believe this and reorganize your reality to reflect this new identity. Now imagine that you have the power to redirect every one of your thoughts for 3 whole days. Imagine how this could transform your energy, your presence, and your ability to act in the world. And here's the most important point: your internal dialogue is never neutral. It is either propelling you to a new level or keeping you stuck in the past. The question is, which future are you programming now? In the next few moments, you will learn how to use this understanding to create a new version of yourself, completely breaking away from the limitations of the past and accessing a new field of possibilities. If you apply this correctly, there will be no going back to your old identity. Chapter 5: The Method for Consolidating the New Mental Programming. Deepak Chopra explains that real transformation doesn't just happen when you think differently, but when your body begins to respond to this new state of being. For the change to become permanent, it is essential to consolidate the new mental patterns until they become your new natural state. Now that you understand the impact of your internal dialogue, the question arises: how do you ensure that this reprogramming isn't temporary? How can you prevent your mind from reverting to its old patterns of doubt, fear, and self-sabotage after a few days of change? The answer lies in the coherence between mind and body. Chopra explains that the brain and heart need to be in sync for the transformation to be sustained in the long term. This means that it's not enough just to change your thoughts. You need to feel this change in every cell of your body. Think about it. Every time you repeat a new thought, your brain creates a new neural connection, like a wire being drawn in an electrical circuit. But for this wire to grow stronger, it needs to be activated repeatedly until it becomes a solid automatic pathway. If you just say, "I am confident and capable," but your body is still addicted to the emotions of fear and insecurity, your mind will quickly revert to the old pattern. This is why many people try positive affirmations and see no results, because they don't activate the corresponding emotion. The key to consolidation is to generate the emotion even before the external reality changes. Chopra teaches that the brain doesn't differentiate between a real experience and an imagined one with emotional intensity. This means that if you wake up every morning and before you even get out of bed, visualize yourself as the most confident, successful, and fulfilled version of yourself, feeling this reality as if it already existed, your brain will begin to program this identity as your new normal. And here's the most important detail: the brain always follows what the body feels most strongly. If your emotions are still stuck in the past, your mind will continue to recreate that state in the present. That's why Chopra teaches a practical method for getting your body to follow this new mental programming first. As soon as you wake up, before thinking about any problem, close your eyes and breathe deeply. Second, visualize yourself living the reality you want with such emotional intensity that your body feels it is real. Thirdly, place your hand over your heart and say out loud, "I am already this version of me. My reality has already changed." If this exercise is repeated daily, the body will begin to adapt to this new emotional state even before the external reality changes. And that's when the real quantum leap occurs. The emotion of being in this new reality attracts to you circumstances that reflect this vibration, creating a new sequence of events that confirm and strengthen your transformation. But here comes one of the most unexpected challenges in this process: the body's own resistance to change. Do you feel that your body is resisting change? What are you thinking of doing to change this? Let me know in the comments. Chapter 6. The moment when your mind resists transformation and how to overcome it. Deepak Chopra warns that every profound change will face internal resistance, and this is exactly when many people give up and go back to their old patterns. Your body has become accustomed to operating on the basis of familiar emotions, even if those emotions are negative. If you've spent years living in a state of fear, doubt, or self-sabotage, your biological system has become chemically addicted to these emotions. This means that when you start to change and introduce new emotions of empowerment and confidence, your body can fight back, trying to pull you back to the previous emotional state. And here's the most dangerous detail: this resistance doesn't appear as something obvious. It arises subtly with thoughts like, "This isn't working," or "It's not real, I'm just fooling myself," or "It's too difficult to maintain this new pattern, I'd better go back to what's familiar." When this happens, many people interpret these thoughts as a sign that they should give up. But in fact, it's quite the opposite. It's a sign that real change is happening. Chopra explains that this moment of resistance happens because the brain is literally deconstructing old neural networks and creating new connections. This is the stage when transformation stops being a concept and becomes a new internal reality. If you get past this critical point, your mind will finally adjust to the new state of being, and the process of change will become increasingly easy and natural. The secret to overcoming this resistance is not to give in to the urge to give up. Whenever your mind tries to pull you back into the past, Chopra suggests a simple but extremely effective technique to reverse the process and consolidate the new state of mind. 1. As soon as you notice the resistance, stop what you're doing and take 3 deep breaths. 2. Recognize that this feeling of doubt or fear is not a sign that you should stop, but rather that your mind is adjusting to the new pattern. 3. Say out loud, "I am in the process of transformation. My brain is reconfiguring itself, and this is part of the change." 4. Smile slightly as you do this. The simple act of smiling tricks the brain into releasing positive neurotransmitters, helping to break down resistance. This little ritual is capable of breaking the cycle of self-sabotage and keeping your mind aligned with the new reality that is being created. And here's the most important final point that Chopra highlights. You're not just changing your way of thinking, you are altering your energy field, your vibrational signature, and your presence in the world. When you master this reprogramming, the people around you start to notice. Your energy changes, your posture changes, your facial expressions become more confident. And when this happens, opportunities that previously seemed unattainable begin to appear naturally. This is not a superficial self-help process. It's a complete overhaul of your mind, your body, and your destiny. And now that you understand the impact of this transformation, the question that remains is, are you going to allow your mind to return to the old patterns? Or are you going to decide that this is the moment when everything changes? The choice is in your hands. Now that you know the impact of your internal dialogue, let me know in the comments, what thoughts and words do you repeat to yourself the most on a daily basis? Are you programming your mind for success or for more of the same? I want to hear about your experience. If this content made sense to you, like this video, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because I always bring discoveries that can transform your life. See you in the next video.